the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I don't want to lose. I want to win.
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is easy sports data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. It is Thursday, and it is just shy of 8 o'clock, and you're in New York. You're in a pretty good place to be because you know what? We cash tickets. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of people cash tickets, but we cash a lot of tickets. And again, I think part of the issue is we're good at what we do. We've been doing it a long time. And more importantly than anything, we work hard at it. And when I say we, we're talking about John from GMF Sports Consultants and Black Hawk West from 151 Sports Investing. Now, I'm going to start with Black Hawk West because I know you were out of town. Did you actually see the post on social media about our friend John?
I did not. I was disconnected, and man, did it feel great.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong, especially right before football season. I did it. I took a week off, and it really does really help. But one of the websites or organizations that tracks plays showed their top 3 Major League Baseball guys for the season and how much they've won. And Black Hawk West, it wasn't me, but I'm going to give you a hint. Guess who it was?
Is it our buddy John from GMF?
John from GMF. Now, don't get me wrong. He was in first place by a tick, right, John? The guy's right behind you.
Yeah, it's been close. We if you kind of go back a couple of weeks was kind of when I hit the number 1 spot, and we've been going back and forth. A couple of guys will creep up there. So yeah, it's been tight this type of year, but yeah, we're still up there in the number 1 spot. We'll flip 1 and 2, but I'll take 1 or 2 top MLB cappers for the season, no problem.
All day long, and this is where I wish I got to get that button for the applause button, where they clap for you. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
No, really, congratulations. You should be proud of yourself.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you deserve it. But that being said, you're picking and choosing where you're putting your money on MLB right now, right?
Oh, 1,000%. It seems this time of the year gets awfully tricky. If you're a fan of MLB, if you're watching MLB, if you're betting MLB, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been crazy, especially with these bullpens. Seems like every year they get worse and worse. Talked about it last year, and we've been talking about it this year. The last couple, shows, we talk about how the bullpens seem to blow apart, and you just never know. So yeah, units are real small. Your game selection is real small. Name of the game is just try to pick and choose, and let's just wait till football starts because we're going to have some big action coming in the next couple of weeks, guys.
Well, yeah, and let's talk about that. So of course, we've already started. My Easy Sports Data has done very, very well with preseason football for 2 or 3 years now. This year is a little unique because we're playing off of the world that at some point in the future, I realize the players, just like Wes said, the players don't want to play Thursday. The players don't want to play preseason games either. And I think one of the ways the NFL is going to take that into account is just you increase the roster, by a handful of guys. I mean, they're only bazillionaires, and their average franchise is going up double digits every single year in value. So I think they can handle, because those last 5 guys that, you're worried about, and that's the reason you're playing that preseason game to figure out who that 5 or even 10 guys are. they're making minimum. So you're talking $4 or $5 million a year. And don't get me wrong, for us, that's a lot of money. But for Jerry Jones, not so much. So I got a feeling that sooner or later, preseason is going to come the way of the dodo bird and a few of the other things in life that disappeared off the face of the earth. But until then, I'm playing it, and I've actually got some plays for later on this. And of course, we would be on some type of activity tonight, but there are no preseason NFL games tonight. I'm pretty sure. I looked at the schedule, or there wasn't any that I was into. There is a CFL game, but it was postponed because of COVID. Any other updates on COVID in the CFL, Blackhawk West?
Well, it's postponed in Edmonton. They have pretty tight COVID protocols, which is a good thing. I think looking at the BC and Ottawa game, I have a little pause there. I would have a little pause there if I was on the BC side of things, especially with Ottawa getting 5 points. So I would look at that because BC is who Edmonton played last week, and you just don't know what kind of news there might be that's not reaching our radars. And so I'd look at that game. But as far as the other teams infected, there hasn't really been much out there.
And there's still 3 baseball games that are going to start after the show's over. And one of them, of course, is the Dodger-Padre game, which those guys will be playing technically in their second game of the day because they didn't finish till way after I went to bed last night. John, you did mention you're on somebody this afternoon. You have live action as we speak right now?
Yeah, correct. We're currently on the over for the Cardinals Pirates, and actually Cardinals just hit another home run. Over under on that was 9. The total is now 8, 7-1 Cardinals, and we're only in the 3rd inning. So
yeah, you're looking good there. And the one thing you're going to get the bottom of the 9th. If you don't win by the time you get to the 9th, you're going to get it, and that's always the thing.
That's always nice. Sometimes you need that half an inning to get
when it's 1-7. When the home team is winning 7-1 and you need that extra run, you need to get it because you don't know if you're going to get that extra inning. And how many teams? Look how many walk-offs we have. That the 9th inning is definitely an inning where people score runs. But I would say then, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about everything. But I'm the most excited about college football. Now, don't get me wrong. The games that I'm looking at Saturday are not the kind of games that are going to make you jump up and down and say, oh, my goodness, what great games. But they count. They're real. These games count. And there's some money to be made. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's talk right now, though, in terms of Blackhawk West. So you were out. You were on vacation. Did you do anything? Did you have any activity, or were you just off the grid?
Oh, no. I was all over the CFL, and it was another winning week in the CFL. We had Calgary, which was a take points dog outright money line winner last weekend. And we dabbled in the SAS game just like we talked about. And so, it was I cashed tickets. It was early enough in the day to where, it made sense to have it on the tablet or on the screen when the family was running around doing other things. And, it's always 5:00 on vacation. So to turn on a game is a pretty easy thing. So, yeah, we cashed in the CFL this past weekend. And then we also watched that Saints game on Monday night. And, wow, I got to tell you, Jameis Winston looks fantastic, and looking forward to the NFL in week 1. Green Bay against New Orleans. New Orleans getting 3. Probably a little teaser for the show that's coming in about 2 weeks.
So here's what we have. We have on college football, we've got 5 games Saturday, and then Wednesday. We've got a game Wednesday, and then next Thursday, we've got a 3:30, a 4:00, another 4:00, another 4:00. Wow. Next Thursday is going to be like my birthday, but it's going to be in September. So we're looking forward to that because really we rocked and rolled all summer with live action. But, once we took our break and we were coming back and focusing on football, there's just nothing to bet on right now, really, that we want to put our money on it. Don't get me wrong. Last week there was a team I remember that we looked at, and they only had a run. And I said, I think it might have been St. Louis, actually. And, we said that they score runs. Of course, they got 7 for John tonight. We got the D-backs and Phillies. I want nothing to do with that. The Giants, I love the Giants. I love the fact that they got a Yastrzemski hitting home runs. Now I'm old, but that has something to do with it. But the bottom line is they have a Yastrzemski hitting home runs, and they're dominating. They're just dominating people, pitching-wise, scoring-wise, and they're looking great. And no one, right, John? What were they to win the World Series at the beginning of the year? Any idea?
They were on nobody's radar, and I could pretty much guarantee that coming out of the West, it was probably you would have Dodgers and San Diego. They were getting all the talk. So they were on nobody's radar. So to do what they've been doing, not only I think they're the best record in Major League Baseball. I'm pretty sure they're at 82 wins or 83 wins. Dodgers have been playing well, but they're still about 2 or 3 games ahead of the Dodgers. But yeah, it's amazing. Kudos to the coaching job for the manager of the Giants, and I mean it's they've been playing phenomenal. Love the lineup all up and down. It's hard not to like them. Pitching's going well, hitters are hitting. And obviously, they're playing the Mets, who kind of struggling right now.
Their money line cashes, their run line cashes have been amazing. They're winning almost all their games by more than 1.5 runs.
Oh yeah, exactly. I honestly think that they were dogs for some reason in either game 1 or game 2 versus the Mets. So yeah, there were some opportunities where if you catch them for some reason, the bookmakers still aren't giving them some respect. So we'll see. So keep an eye on the Giants going forward because they're a good team. So keep an eye on those lines.
All right, so let's, Wes, from 151 Sports Investing, let's talk about Saturday's 5 college football games. Have you looked at them yet?
Oh, yeah. And there's 2 of them that I love.
Well, start talking.
So I'm looking at the Nebraska-Illinois game, and I'm also looking at the Hawaii-UCLA game. And I dug into both of these pretty deep, but looking at the Nebraska-Illinois game and their meeting last year, Nebraska's got a head coach that's pretty much on the hot seat, but Nebraska has by far and away the better quarterback, possibly one of the best quarterbacks we're going to see this year in the Big Ten. He's a real dual threat, and if you look at the game that they played against one another last year, Nebraska threw 3 interceptions. Illinois is not going to be that lucky this year. Illinois also has a change in coaches. The difference between Lovie Smith and Brett Bielema in game style is probably not that dramatic, but the type of players that they are going to recruit, very different. So I'm looking at 6.5 Nebraska, and I feel pretty good about that one. I don't think that they're going to get the 3 interceptions. I think you got a head coach that's coming off of a rough season on the hot seat in Nebraska. That's his alma mater he's coaching. I think Nebraska is going to show up and cash for us. The other one that I really like is Hawaii, is UCLA. It's 17.5 point game, and that's not that big in college. But when you look at UCLA and you start to compare Chip Kelly, Oregon, Chip Kelly, UCLA, and what he looked like in years 1 through 3 this past season, looking at them, they averaged, let's see, I got it in my notes. UCLA was averaging right at 35 points a game. That's a very big number. They score points. They score points early. He's got Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, who is a real dual threat quarterback. So now this is Chip Kelly's 4th season. He kind of threw 2020 out the window. But what I really like about what happened last year is they played some really good teams close. They took Stanford into overtime. They played Oregon really close. They swept both teams in Arizona. They just had a 2-week stretch in Arizona where they just won the state championship in Arizona. So I like what UCLA is doing. I think I'm taking them over 22.5 in the first half. And I'm also going to lay a smaller amount on the 17.5. The first half, if we're tracking to cash that, we could probably count on laying a little bit more in the second half. Chip Kelly likes to pour it on, and this is his 4th season at Oregon. That's when they ended up in the Rose Bowl against Ohio State, and the following year they were in a natty. So I'm laying points. I'm taking 2 favorites this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that the early games of the year when you've got conferences, that are playing teams outside their own backyard, you see some opportunities. What about John from GMF Sports Consultant? John, are you looking at any of these 5 games?
Yeah, there was a few I was looking at. I was actually, to get back on that Hawaii UCLA game, I was actually looking at the total on that game. Not only obviously the options that Wes was talking about with Chip Kelly and UCLA and the offense, but also Hawaii. Hawaii's defense is really kind of shaky, but on the offensive side of the ball, they have a quarterback who's really kind of a dual threat. He throws and he runs and he's returning, and they have a ton of starters back on the offensive side. We all know Hawaii, kind of similar. They like to throw the ball. They like to move the ball downfield. So I think that's a great scenario where I like UCLA with the points, but I think it's going to be a high scoring. Question marks on Hawaii on the defensive side. So I think you're going to see, obviously, UCLA put up some numbers, and I think Hawaii is going to be able to put some up there too. The rest of the games I'm kind of looking at now over there. But, yeah, that was a game that was on my radar as well.
Yeah, UCLA playing at home. You know, when teams go to Hawaii, it's a whole different animal. And I can't tell you how many stories I have from talking to my buddies where that game's going off at midnight. And we're sitting around waiting for that game to kick off to finish our Saturday. But UCLA gave up a lot of points last year, and Chip Kelly's teams they would outscore you, but we'll have to see what happens, because you're absolutely right, John. If you give up some points early and it starts going back, that line went down a little bit, and they get 35 at halftime if these teams light it up and there's no defense being played.
You could very well see a score just like that. Like I said, Chip Kelly, he moves the ball fast. Offense moves fast. Everything's fast paced. You just all the similar points Wes was talking. He's kind of got a point to prove here. This is the first game. They're at home in California. Obviously they want to come out the gate strong. I think the bottom line of that game is going to be how many, let's say, mistakes or turnovers Hawaii can get on defense if they can. And obviously how well the offense is going to be able to move the ball. Like I said, the quarterback, he's experienced. He's coming back with a ton of starters. So I think he's going to be okay. He can run and he can throw the ball. So it's all about what their conversions are going to be and how well the defense can stop UCLA. So we're going to get a lot of questions answered, I think, in week 1 right here, in California.
Yeah, they're. I'm looking at the Easy Sports data for UCLA at home, and they score a lot more points at home than most teams do. So Wes had mentioned that. One of the games that jumps out at me is the San Jose State game. And the reason it jumps out at me is because we were not, with the preseason, we separate NFL preseason from NFL regular season. So I'm already working on week 1 of the regular season with our Easy Sports data. But I can't do that 100% with college, because they come right back, and 4 days from now, they play again. San Jose State is playing on the 28th, and then I think they're playing again on the 2nd. It's like a 4-day turnaround. And I think they're playing, or maybe it's Southern Utah. It's Southern Utah who's playing San Jose State on the 28th, and the next Thursday, they're going down to Arizona, where you had mentioned Arizona State, and they got to play again. I just got to feel bad for a team. And don't get me wrong, you got to take the checks. A team like Southern Utah has got to take the checks. But you go down in the Arizona State, they still have that ex-NFL coach, right, Wes?
Yeah, Arizona State is Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the game too. The San Jose State's a 24-point favorite, and my only reservation, I don't know when you're a San Jose State if the trap game comes into play, but they play USC the following week, so they may get up 24, they may get up 30, but do they start to think about calling dogs off late? I mean, this is not a team that is going to be looking for style points, everything else, but they certainly are going to want to make a statement the following week, 7 days later against USC. So I looked at that game, and if it was mid-season and they didn't have a big opponent on the other end, I'd be looking to lay the 24. I think first half laying the points is probably a good play for San Jose State. But
I think that's the only time you guys both mentioned, with Chip Kelly and running up the score. That's the only time really that I think a coach doesn't pull off. If it's 17-13 at halftime and you're at 4-touchdown favorite. You may play hard in the second half, but if they're given 4 touchdowns, what is Arizona State going to be giving Southern Utah? It could be an off-the-board kind of game.
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt about it. All right, so when we get back from break, we're going to just keep talking football. Boy, doesn't that sound good? You're watching Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and our Belly Up Sports crew is talking football. God, it just sounds so good.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. And I would imagine there's a lot of happy people out there with football around the corner, but I don't think there's anybody going to be more happy than Chris Bryant. If we remember, Chris Bryant, who was sitting there with about 2 weeks of where's he going to go, where's he going to go, where's he going to go, and then he ends up on the 82-44 San Francisco Giants. So go get him, Chris. You got to feel pretty good about that. John, you did get your Pirates, got you some help there. You got your winner. Mid-4.
Yeah, that's official. Yeah, I just seen that.
And then,
that's a winner cash.
That's the kind of game in hindsight that you wish that, you started hopping on that over and you ended up getting, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, 13.5, because you'd be so good right now. I would imagine if you go to my book, and I don't have it open, you can't get 11 on that game. 11
not right now. It's probably 13 and 14. I mean, at this rate, I would probably even sprinkle a little bit on that. I think the Cardinals will probably tack on a couple more runs. We still got a lot of time left in that game. So
not about it. All right, so it is football season, and Wes, have you given us your play for Friday's the Canadian Football League already?
I have not. All
right, so let's get the Canadian Football League out here and find out what it is for the Friday night game. As of right now, the Thursday night game is canceled because of COVID, but Friday night is Friday night is Hamilton and Montreal. That's a pick'em game, 45.5. You don't see a lot of pick'em games.
No, and it depends on where you look, because you and I were discussing the CFL earlier, and I think that there's bigger money but less transactions, because the odds are shifting and spreads are shifting. This one opened up at 2.5, and I liked it at 2. But Hamilton this is their third game of the season. Game 1 they played against Winnipeg, which Grey Cup rematch, and they only scored 6 points. They come out the following week, they play against what I believe to be the second or possibly the first best team in the CFL, and they played against Sask, and they struggled to score points and only hung 8. Jeremiah Masoli's a better quarterback than what he displayed playing against arguably the two best teams in the league. So I'm looking at them this week. Now, Hamilton's coming off a bye, and I realize that they're on the road. They're going to Montreal, but they're coming off a bye, going to Montreal. And, Montreal just got beat by Calgary last week, and pretty close one. Montreal's hung some points, but Hamilton can score some points. They took a hit on their defensive line this week, lost a key player. But I like Hamilton to win this game, and pretty convincingly. I don't know that it's a 20-point win, but I think Hamilton's going to win this game coming off the bye. The first 2 games that they played kind of gave us a gift on some shorter odds on what should be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, I want to get back to the music that we came in from the break, because I love that line in that song. You keep losing when you ought to not bet. And over the years on this show, I have said numerous times, not with my money, but it's your money. You do whatever you want with it. I like to keep my money in my pocket. I don't just give it away. And if you want to, don't get me wrong, once you get up, I don't know, 50, 55, 60 miles an hour, you don't even have to be on a freeway or a highway. You could be on a surface street. If you just crack your driver's side window, the money will get sucked right out of your car. You don't even have to go to the sports book if you're going to do stupid stuff. But So what I got on the bottom of the board is you could check out John on Instagram, GMF_sports_score consultant. You can follow Wes on Twitter at 151_sports. The public is our little group, and you can go to bit.ly/cash tickets here, capital C, capital T, capital H, and you can go and find out about these guys and what they're doing. They're making money for people. Now, don't get me wrong. The people are giving them money for a reason. That's why you make money for people. You're doing it for a reason, and the reason is they're very, very good at what they do. But if you listen to the show or you've watched any of our shows or listened to any of our shows since like 2014, I've been blessed to find a slew of great handicappers. And Saturday, 8 o'clock our time, 11 o'clock in New York, on the Sports Betting Weekly Live, on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, we are premiering TBD, to be determined. And it really is, it's all about understanding when you wake up Saturday morning and you're a sports bettor, it's different than any other Saturday morning. You still got to go to Home Depot, right, and pick up your propane. You still got to drop the kids off at soccer practice. You still got to do all those things. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you might have your mortgage payment in your hand. And there's not a lot of other ways you can do that and really continue to do the normal things in life. There's not too many ways you can make money at poker and be driving your kids around. But in sports betting, you can do that, and that's what it is. Your Saturday, your whole weekend is still to be determined at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 11 o'clock Eastern time. And we've got Blackhawk West is going to talk Saturdays in Canada. We got Paolo coming in. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're not betting soccer, you should start. We got Mo. Now, Mo talked a little bit of preseason football because Mo is a preseason football guy. He watches all the games. Mo's so good at what he does. And, I've been on the show with him and Billy from the fan in Ohio, Lima, Ohio. And that streak he had, it wasn't last year because it was COVID. It was the year before that. He didn't lose for a whole month. He gave us 4 to 5 winners every single week for an entire month. He ended up, I think he went, I want to say 17-1 or 18-1. It was the very last game that day. So if you lost out on his 4 or 5 team parlay after 3 weeks of cashing them every single time, yeah, I feel sorry for you. But yeah, so check those out at the bottom. And that's the beauty about the banners. I can go to the banners and I can click on it and I can change the banners. So while we're talking and you're watching, you can see the bottom of the banners. But so go to that cash tickets page on sportsbettingweekly.com and learn more about the guys. And then, of course, we'll do some social media for Saturday's show. Hey, John, when you look at the sports book for football season, are you going to have to do anything different in terms of your schedule? Will you bet more live in terms of physically going to the book, or will you continue to do it online? What's your plan for this year? Because this year is going to be a little different than last year. Last year it was pretty bad.
Yeah, obviously, COVID is still kind of around, obviously, with all the variants and everything like that. But here in Vegas, I would say besides the mask mandate, we're pretty much back to normal. There's no capacity, there's no limitations. So the sports book is going to be packed. I sent you guys a picture. We have the hot dog and beer cart that's coming back into play.
That,
yeah, you see it. Yeah, last year that wasn't there, so that's a good sign. For people who don't know, it's not really on the strip, but it's more of a local casino. You could get beers for $2. Beers for $3. You get I think they're doing bucket specials and, hot dog specials and whatever you want to do. So I would probably say it's going to be a little bit more early morning in the casino, just because I like going. I love the environment. I love the feel of it. And then, later on in the day, it's going to be a little bit more in-game on the phone, on my app type of deal. But yeah, I love going there in the morning. I don't think there is no better feeling than if you're in a sports book at, let's say 9:30 a.m., being able to get your bets in and everything like that. I might still bet on the phone, but I'll be in the sports book doing it on the phone, just kind of feeling the vibe from everybody. So yeah, I'll definitely be there.
Yeah. And it really depends on what book you've got and how big the lines are, because I've sat in a sports book and bet on my phone the same thing I would have bet, but the line was too long, or maybe they didn't have it. Maybe it was an offshore book that is offering more lines than the book that I was at. I did see recently, I don't know if either of you guys saw this, some post somewhere about that every time you eat a hot dog, it takes 30 minutes off of your life. Did either of you guys see that article?
I seen that. My brother-in-law sent that to me, and I'm gonna call that fake news, because if that was the case, I would have been dead already by now. Because
oh my god, I love hot dogs.
I love hot dogs.
I love cheese dogs. I love kraut dogs. I love mustard dogs.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I would have a hot dog cart guy go by my sidewalk in front of my house. In New York City on the street corners. And where I'm from in New Haven, they still have them. You go downtown.
Yeah.
I haven't been there since COVID, but you go downtown and there's hot dog carts on the corner. There's nothing better than a hot dog cart.
There's nothing better. Same thing. Me growing up in New York as a kid, man. That was just walking by and smelling that. Say what you want about whatever water they were sitting in. I don't care. I'll take one of those hot dogs. Actually, give me two. And like I said before, I'll be in a sports book. I'll be eating at least one every time I go there. Why not?
And the pretzels in the shopping carts. They would have the shopping carts with the coals right in the shopping carts, and you get hot pretzels right off a shopping cart. I think the shopping cart was stolen material, but I didn't. When the pretzels are good, you don't go that far. All right, so Blackhawk West, are you going to be looking at any preseason football this weekend?
This weekend, I'm going to watch it a little bit, just because there are some teams that are going to be playing players. I think Justin Fields is playing this week, which I don't know that makes a ton of coaching sense to me. They almost got him killed last week.
He got a hit. He got hit. There's no doubt about it. That was a pop.
Yeah, and you guys both know I bleed Ohio State. So for the first time in my football fan type life, I've been able to cheer for an Ohio State guy as a Chicago Bear, being from Chicago. But there's a couple games that I'm going to be paying attention to. I think that the Colts got some things to work out at quarterback, at least for the short term in the season, which probably means they got a lot of O-line and running back things to work through with some quarterback uncertainty. So I'm interested in that. The Chiefs, they're not dressing anybody. I mean, John, you might be taking snaps for the Chiefs this coming preseason game, because I think they got all the answers they need. But I'm interested in the Bills Packers. I really think that the Packers, there's some pieces there that they'd like to work through, not necessarily on the starting roster, but I'm hoping Jordan Love sees some action. That's a guy that was really exciting out of college. There's no question he's taken over for Rodgers. It's just a matter of when, and he has got a big arm. So I'm just going to be looking to have some fun with it. I don't know that I'm going to have some action. Some of these lines, though, Green Bay plus 9.5. In any situation in the NFL, you got to look at getting 9.5 points. You just got to.
Yeah, I'm going to have some action. I'm going to focus on team totals, actually. I'm focusing on 4 team totals. We're going to go over those when we get back. You are listening to Sports Betting Weekly on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, and at Sports Betting Weekly Live.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Gramps is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm Second Half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and ChampionshipFootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. ChampionshipFootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, ChampionshipFootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the ChampionshipFootballs.com autographed footballs. ChampionshipFootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am Second Half Chaz. As in most weeks, I am joined by John from GMF Sports Consultant, who recently established his number one ranking again. We've seen it before, and I posted on social media. If you're surprised that John is at the top of any rankings for any sport in handicapping, well, you haven't been paying attention. And, of course, Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing. Now, Blackhawk West, you've had a couple of winners in the investing arena in the last couple of weeks you set us up with that had nothing to do with sports. Let us know more.
Well, Chicago Options Trader, it's a group, and that's my members page. It's an app. You know, there's a link. You can Google Chicago Options Trader, and these are some really good, smart investing minds. Whether you're in options or you're into crypto, so that there's the sports betting premium membership that I do the weekly podcast. But this past week, I mean, there were some really good options plays on some earnings that were reported. One of them was up about 400%. The other one was up 200%. We're talking overnight. So some of these plays, in football, you got 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and you get a 90% return, a 95% return. You got to jump on a big dog money line to see a 400% return. But I'm talking we bought it at 2:00 in the afternoon, and the very next day, right when the market opened, I believe that's 7:30 Pacific time. 2 minutes into it, boom, sold. And we had some really big winners. So whatever your flavor is, it's Chicago Options Trader. And we've had some big wins on top of the sports.
I would check it out if I were you guys, because it's not like this is the first time we've heard that story at all. All right, so let's get back to preseason. Now, John, you've made it kind of clear you want nothing to do with preseason, correct?
Yeah, it's very, very limited, especially this week. If we see any starters, I think it'll be in those certain games where West was kind of keying on. For the most part, they'll sit, maybe play one series. But yeah, most of the teams that you've seen, they already announced kind of their starting quarterbacks, and they don't want to get nobody injured. Like I said, if there's some positions that maybe, people are fighting for or jockeying for, you might see some competition there. But yeah, preseason is something that I normally, kind of stay away from. And, if you're betting preseason, good luck. I advise everybody keep your units small. It's a long season of NFL, so you shouldn't be really laying too much in preseason football.
Yeah, now I'm going to tease our segment with Mo. Something's got to give, where he covers some preseason games from his perspective, and that, of course, is Saturday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific. I will be up And wake and bake is a legitimate, depends on who makes the coffee for me. If the coffee is made, there's a good chance that I'm going to be either sativan or indican on my patio, but it's too early to tell. We'll have to wait. But if you haven't had a chance, go to Twitter, find the Second Half Chaz poll, and make a choice. There's 4 choices. No THC for me. Sativa, indica, or if you're buying, I'm smoking, basically. That's the 4th one. It don't matter to me. So one of the things that I look at when I'm talking about preseason is normally this is the 3rd game. Next week's the 4th game. No starters play in the 4th game. They all play the 3rd game. And the week after that is the regular season. But this year, these guys get Labor Day weekend off. They haven't had Labor Day weekend off ever, right, Wes? Am I wrong, or is that the way it's working?
Typically not. Last year was the one-off because COVID had everybody wondering what we were going to do with our football season, and it was for everybody's safety, and the world didn't have the same answers as it does now. At this time last year, we were waiting for the vaccine, which everybody's got a different opinion on that, but we were still waiting for that news. So, no, they typically are not off Labor Day weekend. I think I'm looking forward to some of the Twitter posts because, these guys follow their alma mater. And some of them are, the Ohio State guys love the school they came from. Patrick Mahomes is just an avid Texas Tech follower. So I think it'll be cool. Some of the games that they're paying attention to and the way that they react, I think it'll just be funny. But they typically are in a training camp or a game, a big one on week 3 of preseason.
Yeah, and there are some big games, not all big games to start the season in college, but every year they give us a couple handful of games that are important and games that, instantly can change the top 25. There's no doubt about it. So let's look at the preseason games that I've isolated on our Easy Sports data. The first one you mentioned earlier is the Buffalo game. I'm betting the Buffalo team total over. And the reason I'm doing that is because they score points in preseason games, and it doesn't matter whether they're home or on the road, they score points. I like teams to score points, and if a team scores points, there's a couple reasons why they score points. Either the other team, of course, defense isn't that good, or they've got a good offense. And Buffalo has a good offense, and I really think that no matter who's running the ball, and I saw that on a couple preseason games earlier this year where it's the same formation. I think it was the Chiefs game. It wasn't Mahomes, but it looked just like Mahomes. They do the same formation. They're running the team's plays. The next game I have is the Baltimore-Washington game. I don't think you didn't mention that game at all, did you, Wes?
No, that wasn't the one.
Yeah, Ravens. I'm taking a Ravens team total over. Now, I'll tell you right now, the last 3 or 4 years, the Ravens team total over has cashed halfway for the first half, halfway through the second quarter, almost every single week. I want to say it probably was 13-3, but they got that kid, and he's pretty good. And as long as he doesn't get hurt, now I'm not talking about this weekend. I'm talking about regular season, but I'm going to stick with them as well. And then I got one that I'm a little concerned with this play, but I'm going with it. And it's the Rams team total under. The Rams team total over. I got a Denver fan that lives in my house. So whether we like it or not, we get Bronco football in my house. And my son loves the Broncos. He's got a John Elway signed championship football when they won the Super Bowl. He's a Broncos backer. And, of course, they just made a big announcement, right, on their quarterback position. And I was a Bridgewater fan. And when he got hurt, I felt so bad for him because he was just getting there. And if he could come back and have, any resemblance to the quarterback he was before he got hurt, and you give him a whole season. And one thing about Denver is they're always coming with the defense. Denver's defense is really good. I'm not sure who's playing for the Rams. I don't care. I've got something that says 10 out of 10. They've done something 10 out of 10 times. I'm going to bet that they're going to do it the 11th time. And finally, the last one is the Patriots team total over. And the only reason I'm doing that, this is every time I've done it this year, they've cashed money. So I'm 2 for 2 with the Patriots team total over. Now, you could argue, well, yeah, but they had to get that one touchdown on a 97-yard or whatever it is return with a minute left in the game. And I say the same thing I say to everybody. I cash tickets. I don't care how. And it really, if you think about it, Wes, have you ever cashed a ticket and felt guilty about it?
Not once. Not even one time. The one that stands out the most is a few years ago, that wild Monday night game finish in Seattle. And I don't care what garbage it was. I got it. I don't care if the call was right or not. The money cashed. They accepted it at Sprint for my cell phone bill, and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Not 1 ounce of guilt.
John, you're in Vegas. You probably had times where a guy sitting right next to you had a different outcome than you did. Did you hesitate to go to the window because you felt bad for that guy?
Yep, same thing. Zero. Nope, I'm going right to the window. I'm cashing. I'm holding that ticket in the air. And I believe it wasn't that game, but it was a Monday night. Now this is probably about 3 or 4 years ago, but I still remember it to this day. It was the Ravens versus the Texans. They were lining up for a field goal, and it was a blocked field goal, and he ran it back and he scored, and it wound up being like a double because I needed the points and I needed the over on that too. So it was glorious. I remember that was like a double cash for me. So yeah, I believe it was Ed Reed.
That's not a shock, right? Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't quote me on that, but I believe it was him. This game was about 4 or 5 years ago. It was a Monday night game, and yeah, it was crazy. I was jumping up and down. Those are the best games, in my opinion. You know, where you get that last second. You know, it makes you feel like you were right all along. It doesn't matter what happens. You know, the rest of the game.
If you have the favorite or the underdog and the under, and a play like that happens, and it becomes the favorite and the over. You have a legitimate gripe that it was a bad beat, but I look at it was not. I was handicapping. I don't care how they get it. You know, they get it.
Yeah. That's how I looked at it too. Hey, it just worked out that time. So I'll take that. 100% of the time. Anytime they go into that window and they're handing you those dollars, I'll take that.
I tell people, if you heard me say this before, I'm going to say it again next time I win a lot of money. When they say, how would you like that? That's my favorite words that's coming from the other side of the window. Is large okay? I think is really how they say it.
Large.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, we had talked, I guess the World Series of Poker is at the end of September. And Tommy, who joined us this Saturday for Wake and Bake, so when you check in on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network at 11 o'clock Eastern, or Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, or Sports Betting Weekly Live, you'll see our chat with Tommy. But he's going out for the World Series of Poker, and it's at the end of September. And I might, if everything goes well, John, I might end up being able to buy a beer. So I think I may try to slide out there. It's right now. It's like a month away, and it's a real busy month, so I'm not sure. But it's just a matter of an hour up and an hour down, so we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. It's been way too long for me because we didn't go in January. We went last year before my son left for Brazil, so we're going on almost a year. And, John, you were there with us when we had the suite there at the –
we were there at the MGM. We were watching that college – a couple college games.
I'm going to tell you that story again. I was in heaven. I had the football game on one TV and the Christmas movie on the other TV, and life was good. It was a suite. It was really a nice setup at the MGM. Yeah. And it's funny because I remember we drove there and we got there, and as soon as we walked in, it was like, what pandemic, People around with those big ass, the drinks like you get in New Orleans, the hurricanes and stuff. It was and of course the MGM has a young, loud crowd, and they were rocking the music. It's a good time. But yeah, I'm jonesing because if I go more than 6 months without a trip to Vegas, now I can normally get that itch out of me by going down to Caliente, because we love Caliente. We love the guys at Caliente. Christian, who's our contact there when they sponsored the show for a few years, is great. But the border's closed, so it's kind of tough right now. You got to say to yourself, how much do I want to bet on football and watch a game live and be able to cash a ticket, and how much do I want to risk my health? And you know what? You really, it becomes a balancing act. There's no doubt about it. So you just got to be smart and be careful. That's all you could do.
That's right.
All right, so Wes, Canadian football. going forward, what are some of the things that we're going to be looking for that you think that may change from what we've seen over the first 3 weeks?
Well, I think, you guys have heard me talk about this player quite a bit, but, Bo Levi Mitchell's coming back in 6 weeks. I think that'll be interesting to see where Calgary is at when that happens, and if they're still in the playoff hunt, because this is a shorter season for the CFL. Normally there's 20 games. So, but, I'm looking to see how Winnipeg comes back from this loss. And right now, I think that I think that Toronto is an interesting team, and what's going to happen with the standings if this game does indeed get canceled and not postponed, and how are they looking at a percent? And always in the CFL, what's always exciting is you got two divisions, and the top 4 teams go into the playoffs. So the division winners go no matter what. But if the second, it's not always 2 teams, 2 from each division. We saw it last year. The team they will take the third place team if they're better than the second place team in the other division, and they move them and they put them into the bracket. And that's always exciting to watch within the CFL. Once college football starts, I usually, the CFL plays are 1 or 2, and I'm looking for some point spreads that jump a little bit. We see these spreads are getting a little bit more narrow. And that'll happen as these teams play each other a couple times. And it's going to start to look like the NHL did, where they play each other 2 times in a row, and they've all played each other so many times. And it does get more difficult towards Grey Cup and playoff time.
Yeah, which makes sense. Let's talk to John about a future play. Now, I talked to the guys at Prop Swap this week, Ian from Prop Swap. And, Prop Swap is a friend of our show for years and years and years. And we love their platform, which basically allows you to go, if you're going to bet a future play, split that ticket in half. Instead of giving them a $50 bill and getting a $50 ticket, tell them to give them 2 $25 tickets, because you could always sell one on Prop Swap, and that team could eventually not win, and you've made money on that bet. Mm-hmm. But so, John, do you have any future plays in line for this year? Do you normally do it? And if you do you have any for this year?
No, I normally don't do any type of future bets whatsoever. Every once in a blue moon, I'll take a look. But I don't, especially for NFL. It just seems like your money is tied up for too long. There's nothing wrong with throwing maybe 10, 20, $30 here and there or something that's going to get you, a decent return on investment. But yeah, I normally shy away. I'll probably start looking just to see if there was something that pop out of me this week. But normally 99% of the time, I'm not a futures bettor whatsoever.
No, and I agree with you 100%. I think about how many times I could turn over that money in 17 weeks. That it's got to be a double-digit return for sure, and probably close to 20x for me to get involved. But guess what? Every single year, you see guys out there that got tickets that are 20x that they're cashing. Whether it's a team that wins the division. So let's talk to Wes. Wes, any teams in the NFL this year that you think are going to surprise people?
Surprise, it's hard because we look at it and we've had just a very small sampling with these preseason games. What I typically do with futures is if I look at a team that I think has a chance of doing it, I don't, like John said, you're tying up too much capital that we could turn over twice that amount of times and work our way up. But what I will do is I'll throw, couple bucks on a win. I just cashed a big week. I'll throw a couple dollars on a long shot type deal. Full disclosure, I got a few, probably about 24 Jacksonville winning the Super Bowl, going to the Super Bowl. Not because I truly believe in my heart of hearts that that's going to happen, but as you're cashing out a ticket, to throw a couple dollars on it for what the payoff would be. We've seen it before. I remember the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. They were a 30+ to 1 odds team back when they did. We remember the Rams worst to first winning the Super Bowl. So these things do happen. Somebody's going to get paid on them. So Urban Meyer's a turnaround specialist. Again, I'm not saying they're winning the Super Bowl this year, but if they did, at what the payout is right now, to throw a couple dollars on it every time you cash a ticket.
I remember you telling me, and we're talking about 3 and 7, and I remember you had like 8 or 9 tickets, but all of a sudden you got $40 on a 50 to 1 shot, and guess what? That'll pay a mortgage payment for most people.
Yeah, I mean, Denver, I think, is an interesting one for a long play. Not that I believe they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they certainly have the ability to come in second place in that division. That's one worth looking at. And Arizona's another one that's got a longer odds than a team with that much talent and a coach in the hot seat should have.
And that's really what you're looking at. You're looking for opportunities. All right, before we let you go, John, remind the people where they can find you.
Just like Howard says on the scroll down there, GMF_sports consultants. I'm sorry. And then Facebook, Instagram. You can also type that in on the web browser or whatever is your choice and pull up my website. And also on the cash tickets, you can pull us up there and find all of us on there if you want.
What was the service that listed you?
That's called Kingpin Pro. I'll give them a little free plug. It's actually anybody. It's free to join, and they actually give away monthly prizes. Now, if you're a top handicapper, you can actually get paid just by being the best handicapper in top 10, I believe. So there's a lot of opportunities. Now, you can also buy picks on there. So you can buy picks from me. You can buy picks from other handicappers. But yeah, check out kingpin.pro. Free to sign up. So if you just want to browse and look it over, go right ahead.
Before we say goodbye and we hand it off to the loudmouths on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Blackhawk West, let them know.
151 Sports Investing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and my Discord page, my members page, Chicago Options Trader. Make money during the week and then cash on football on the weekends. And also the cash tickets link on the bottom.
No doubt about it. And I am second half Chaz. I am very much excited about the premiere of To Be Determined Saturday morning, 8 o'clock Pacific time. I'll be up. I might still be in my pajamas. I might still have a cup of coffee, but I'm going to enjoy it. So check it out Saturday, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern, To Be Determined on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, on Sports Betting Live. Enjoy the loudmouths. They're next, and always be cashing.